Kevin, as we speak, the Dáil is meeting, as you know. Yeah. They're late to the event we're talking about, which of course is the EU Migration and Asylum Pact. Yeah. I connected with you on TikTok. You're very dominant on TikTok, and you've been giving some very interesting and very personal engagements with people who follow you on TikTok. And you've been, for me anyway, you've been quite clear-headed in your whole approach to this. But what's concerning you about this pact and the ambition of this government to voluntarily opt into something that we actually don't have to opt into?
Well, that primarily is the first instance, is that we're lucky that we do have the opt-out clause. And, you know, a lot of people look at the government and they say that they're inept, they don't know what they're doing, but I think they know exactly what they're doing. And when they tell me that the numbers will be this, I don't believe them. I don't trust them, because we've seen again and again and again this idea that we know what's best. Don't worry, it'll be grand. And unfortunately, the shape of Ireland has changed. I mean, I grew up in Donegal. I was the only black kid in Donegal. And this isn't about colour. It's not about religion. It's not about race. It's about numbers. We are struggling as we are already to deal with our own problems. And the idea of adding thousands more people to a broken healthcare system is crazy, or even a broken housing system. And for me, they've run out of credibility. They've lost the room. And back in the day when they could control the media, they could control the narrative. You know, that vote we had not so long ago on removing the word woman from the Constitution, 10 years ago, that would have been a yes, because RTE would have been the main educators. Now people have found social media, and we have a new town hall. We have people communicating with each other, and that has them running scared, because we are able now to share ideas, to share information, which is probably one of the reasons they want to take it away. But on the issue of immigration, it's really, really, my father understand very well the need for positive immigration. But I'll tell you what, Eddie, they're not sending us doctors and nurses, accountants. We are getting a very, very strange demographic of people. And unfortunately, for a lot of the people who've come here legally and who work hard, obey the laws, you know, respect the culture, they're now being lumped in with this new phenomenon, which is unvetted immigration. Now, they're even telling you can't say that. But the government on one hand say it's not real, it's not happening. But the very next day you pick up the Daily Mail and they're talking about the amount of people they find coming into the country illegally. So they're speaking out both sides of their mouth.
And do you see an interconnection between what they're about to vote on tonight and what they're holding back, which of course is the hate speech bill? Both of these things were held back from the public before the recent elections, European and local elections. It seems to me that then this came on the order of business on a Friday and it was coming up on the following Tuesday for voting. It's very cynical.
It's totally cynical, and people can see through it. And people are, and this is what I mean about the social media now, that people are saying, hang on a minute, this doesn't add up. And I think ultimately you have a situation where most of the people who have trusted the government on this issue are now beginning to see the effects of it in their communities. And unfortunately, it's not all good, but then it's not all bad. But if they don't fess up, because technically the hate speech law, in my opinion, is the government not wanting to be criticized for the mistakes they're making. And they can say it's about this and that, but ultimately it becomes about protecting this experiment. And it is an experiment because we have no idea how this is going to pan out. And we're told, you know, it'll be grand, trust me. But actually, a lot of people are very, very concerned. And instead of being listened to, you know, 80% of the population in Ireland now believe we've taken in enough immigrants. Does that make you anti-immigrant? Not in the slightest. But that is how they're being painted. They're being called far right. They're being called racist. These people are not racist. I grew up in, as I said, the only black person in Donegal. Racism is not a big problem in Ireland. However, these policies are going to create a generation of racists, because eventually people who are treated unfairly get angry and resentful. And then they look and go, why is he getting that when I'm not getting this? But the government are riding roughshod over everybody's sensibilities. And that will have a huge impact on communities. And it is having a huge impact.
So you were saying that the government are using propaganda rather than direct engagement with the people that voted them into office?
Oh my God, 100%, Eddie. That is exactly what's happened. It's almost as if the people who pay their wages are at the back of the queue and last to be listened to, when the European Union, who are dictating pretty much this policy, and what we're doing tonight, is handing over responsibility for our immigration policy to the EU. They say 600 Really?
Per
How
week.
do we per week?
Yeah.
But you know, that's what happens. It starts at that number, and then before you know it, oh, there's an emergency here, there's a climate emergency, there's a war over here. But all of that doesn't matter. What matters is we're a small country, we're struggling to deal with our own problems, and adding more people to that, for me, is going to be a disaster.
Mm. And you've been so animated about it, and I've been following you. You're looking at organising your own political group.
I've done it. I've set it up, and it's because I think a lot of things have in a vacuum that happened years ago, that happened over the last few years. But we now have a new country. We have a new Ireland that has new people in it. And we can't go backwards. We can't send everybody back to Africa. We can't send the gays back to jail. We have to acknowledge that we've matured, we've grown up. And unless it's inclusive, we've lost the argument. And that's what I think, that's the reason I went ahead, was because I know clearly how I think about it. And everything I think about is based on one single fact, and that is fairness. I don't believe that Irish people are being treated fairly. And I, as a kid, was treated unfairly in my upbringing. And it made me very aware of how important it is for people to feel that they're being treated fairly, not just by the political establishment, but by the people whose wages they pay, the people that are supposed to represent them. And a lot of the people in Ireland today, at recent election, we had a situation where people were asked to vote on this and that, but we're not going to talk about that and that and that. And that's what killed me, was that a lot of people wanted to have a say on the real issues that were affecting them. And it's all very well and good to have a coalition that all agree on everything, but the real issues were not allowed to be discussed or voted on. And that's why I wanted to give people a very clear choice, a set of ideas that would say this is about fairness. You know, whether it's the hate speech law, whether it's the fact that, you know, nobody's ever said to me, Eddie, ever explained to me why Irish people are not prioritized for the services that they own, that they pay for, why they're not prioritized for housing. I mean, there isn't a logical argument against that. And yet, don't say it. I've never heard somebody stand up in the Dáil and say, you don't think maybe we should prioritise the Irish for what's rightfully theirs? But that is now considered to be right-wing and racist. And it's nothing of the sort. It's just common sense. And I think one of the reasons I've had so many millions of views and traction, right, even across America, is that people are sick of hearing propaganda and this idea that you can talk your way around something. Common sense and logic is all we have. And I think that's missing from politics today, and it's certainly missing from the choices that people are being given.
Well, what was very interesting from the results of the European elections in Europe was that if you take the three main countries, Italy, Germany, and of course France, what we're seeing is that there's a movement now from the centre out over to the right.
Yes, and that's a good thing. Yeah. And that's a good thing, because we, you know, Eddie, in my opinion, a sensible, intelligent person has some political views that are on the left, some that are in the middle, and some that could be described on the right. But what we've now done is demonize the idea that if you're not extreme left, and let's face it, we know all about the extreme left. We know what they stand for. We know what they stand for teaching children in school. We know what they stand for when it comes to propaganda about sexuality. We know what they stand for in terms of looking after the Irish people. What we don't know is what would happen. And my party is a centre-right party, because the way I see it, Eddie, is very simple.
And you're calling this
A New Ireland. NewIreland.ie is the website. It goes live on the 4th of July. But the point being is that, you know, we have now got a golden opportunity between now and the next election to say to the Irish people, look, there is an alternative here. These are sensible policies. These are not about, you know, over-explaining. These are about simple things that most people are concerned about in Ireland. And I just think it's now or never, because if we get another 5 years of the hard left, and that's what they are. And the thing is, Eddie, we've entered
even the old parties that were of the centre have gone so far left.
Absolutely, and the truth is, Eddie, we grew up in an Ireland where nobody wanted to be considered a bad person, so nobody wanted to be unpopular, and yet we have gotten to the point now where if you believe your communities are safe, you should be safe. You're far right. If you believe that children should be allowed to enjoy their education and their innocence, if you believe that, you're far right. So I say to people, you've got to own this. Let's call a spade a spade. I am happy to be considered right wing in some of my views. Far right, no. Extremists, no. But they've painted us all into a corner here, and it's a very dangerous thing to do.
But have you noticed that I should put it in a better way, that the the mainstream media in Ireland, as they were the Irish Times, Independent, The Examiner, RTE, News Talk, they seem to all coalesce around the state.
Of course,
the state propaganda. And repeat the tropes 100%. Rather than actually challenge them.
Rather than asking the real questions. Yeah. 2 questions I have for the media. Why does nobody in the media ask, where's that little girl that got attacked? What happened to her? Nobody wants to ask that question, and nobody wants to answer it. Second question, why are all these mostly men that are coming to the country? And these are issues that people really want answered, but the media they've lost the room, Eddie. The government have lost the room. The only thing that's keeping them relevant is the sound of their own voices. They found echo chambers where they all agree on everything, but there's no truth in it. For me, there's no honesty in it either.
Well, listen, I wish you very, very well.
Thank you.
Good luck on the 4th of July. So 4th of July is the official launch date of a New Ireland. Yeah. And then, so you're gearing up then for the general election.
Yeah. We're looking to stand candidates in every county in Ireland.
Okay, well,
and
that's a big ambition.
So far, it is, but you have to start somewhere.
Okay, and the policy platform then will sort of emerge.
It's already, we have the manifesto together, and it starts out with prioritising Irish people. It goes on to handing back control of the fishing to the fishermen and to the farmers. I mean, these guys have been doing this their entire life, but they're being told now what to do by a group of unelected officials in Brussels who know nothing about farming, nothing about fishing. Killybegs, one of the best fishing ports was, and that's been decimated, and it's been all done, in the name of progress. But we know what the farmers know what they're doing, the fishermen know what they're doing, and communities know what they want, and what they don't want is unvetted, uncontrolled immigration. In my opinion, the immigration in Ireland should be halted, apart from essential immigration, for the next 3 to 5 years. And you know what? Let's catch our breath here. Sort all of this out. We don't have the houses, we don't have the hospital places, and any politician that says Ireland is not full, I would invite him to go to any hospital on a Saturday night and look at the trolleys, or look at the waiting lists of people in Ireland who've been waiting 17, 18, 20 years for a house, and then they're told, well, this person is more needy. And that's the biggest problem. I think they've lost sight.
Yeah, you've said that a few times, that they've lost the dressing room. So just on that point, and maybe we can finish on this point, that if that's the case, then there's a pivot going on the ground in Ireland, where people are just fed up.
Absolutely.
With the sort of the woke agenda, the virtue signalling.
The establishment bullshit, Eddie. Look at this whole LGBT.
I didn't
sorry, that word.
Like that, but
that's what it sounds like to us. Yeah. And the whole LGBT thing. I asked somebody about this recently. I said, "Why are you picking out gay kids as being in danger and as being bullied, when in fact ginger-haired kids get bullied, fat kids get bullied, people with glasses, black kids get bullied, but the danger of promoting one minority over the rest is to create a very dangerous precedent, and I think they're playing a very dangerous game here." Okay.
All right, Kevin, wish you well. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much. Thank Pleasure.
You. Okay, well, we'll go now to we'll go to the Dáil and see what's happening.
On the other side of the criticize for doing too much. I think this pact, which has taken a long, long time to negotiate across Europe, strikes a balance in the centre that we need. But until Europe and the developed world starts looking at the causes of migration, what's forcing desperate people to leave parts of Africa, parts of Asia, and deals with that, this is going to continue. And no matter what we do, President Trump tried to build a wall, it didn't work. Britain had Brexit, it didn't work. Italy put in Prime Minister Meloni, it didn't work. They'll keep on coming. As our people left here when they had to.
No.
And they ended up in Canada and other places.
And they worked, or they starved, or they died.
Not treated very well.
This is bullshit.
So we have this in our DNA too.
No.
So I think this pact is a way forward. If Europe works together, if we work inside, we cannot do it on our own. No country can deal with this issue on its own.
Yeah.
We need to work together.
Well, Denmark is deciding to do it on its own.
Yeah, you can say no. That's what's lost here.
Approach.
Humanitarian. But what about your own people, Eddie? You can't apply that to outside.
One of the ironies is that sometimes people say, look, we can't bring people here because we can't treat them well. But very often the people come here, they come from areas and places that we can only think about in our work.
Well, this is David Staunton, Fine Gael, East Cork. So he's under the party whip. Coming up with the best line possible. We can't do it on our own. We need Europe to help us solve our own problems.
Yeah, but we can say no until we can deal with it properly. And we're never going to be able to stop the reasons people want to come here. Yeah. But unless we start looking after our own people, we are going to regret it. And it's going to change the country forever.
And Denmark is not taking the same view.
No.
And I'm just looking here at the actual numbers in the Dáil chamber, and
it's pitiful.
It's pitiful. There's a handful.
Like those passing, all the over hurting, and also very sad day for Ireland.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. Well, we leave it there, Kevin.
Yes.
And thanks for coming in.
You're very welcome. Pleasure. Thank you, guys.